Hello there and welcome to future YouTube viewers to this video in which we are going to watch a behemoth, a mammoth of a video in which Steven Crowder completes the political compass test. So you can see here it's an hour long, okay? So we might have to speed it up a little bit. We'll see what the deal is with it. We'll kind of get into it and find out what's happening. Okay? But here's the situation. Here's the deal. I at first was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did a political compass test that's like an hour long, okay? However, compass test, when I myself did one that was about an hour long, okay? Now, I think this is actually a good thing because it's going to be quite thorough and it's going to give us some good insights into what's going through Steven Crowder's head, hopefully, okay? So let me just load this bad boy up and we'll get straight into it, okay? We'll get straight into it. We've got no time to spare. So let's... We'll see what speed is it at the moment. I don't want to put it on high speed unless I have to. So let's just see how it pans out. He's going for like a... He's going for like a Zoomer kind of intro, right? This is like Zoomer. He's trying to ape the Zoomer style. Anyway, I think he calls this guy like Asian Lawyer Andy or something. Like I think he actually like racially abuses this dude sometimes. I don't know. We'll get into it anyway.
You know, it makes me very sad because I feel like people will never see how effective my hips are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good thing.
It's
that's a good thing.
These hips, there's something else.
You're
I don't
not
have a lot of great qualities, but person...
Even
You should get one of those display caskets that like tips
The
up.
thing is, at the start of all of these videos, he tries so desperately to be funny. I don't know, maybe like to some boomer conservative, that was absolutely a rip-roaring hilarity. But to me, I'm just sat there like, okay, kind of just normie tier jokes. If you could even call them jokes, right?
Yeah, we have an Ash Wednesday today. I should mention my half-Asian lawyer, Bill Richmond, is here.
There we go. Half-Air lawyer. Half-Asian lawyer. He calls him a half-Asian lawyer. What? What on earth? Oh, my God.
Quarterback Garrett is here.
Oh,
Audio
gross.
way too cute. Maddie and overlays. She's so cute it makes me want to vomit. I did.
Yeah.
That's because I'm bulimic. And Gerald A is here.
Yes.
Good. Glad to see you're on your A game.
Affirmative.
What was I about to say? Something about being, I don't know. I just don't like myself with the hips. My wife and I got into an argument where I found out that she wanted me to be cremated.
Really?
Like, how do you have a say in this?
Well, no, you're not going to be around to have a say.
Yeah, I know, but then she got offended. I said, leave me on the curb on trash day. And she was like, how could you? I'm like, you want to burn me. You want to put me...
This is like 80s or 90s era comedy of like, oh yeah, the wife indoors, like, do you know what I mean? It's very base level, very old school, very boomer-esque anti-wife comedy, right? Like, it's the kind of jokes your dad would make.
Other people's
I
actions.
They do it.
It'll be a blend.
It looks like a pizza oven. I don't know.
Be a blend.
I'm not a crematorium expert.
That's true.
We
We've
need
never
a
asked you for that.
cremation analyst here. That's what happened on CNN.
Oh, sorry, just make it clear as well. By your dad, like your dad is like, obviously, when your dad maybe is kind of a bit uneducated on certain subjects and stuff like that, and it doesn't like attribute maliciousness to their points of view necessarily. Steven Crowder is not a your dad type. He just makes your dad jokes. The way he speaks about people is extremely malicious and vicious. And the way he speaks about minorities, it's like a considered thing. It's not like he accidentally has bad views about trans people. He goes out of his way to have bad views about trans people. Do you see what I mean?
And like I want a cremation analyst stat. Like I don't know. There's this guy. It'll work.
And that was Sanjay Gupta.
Yes, and it was Sandra Gupta.
Yes, fire does burn.
Who's showing us.
Yeah, Dennis Miller. And the thing is, Dennis Miller is a bad knockoff of Bill Hicks. Like Dennis Miller is known for like stealing full routines from Bill Hicks. So it's kind of like a carbon copy of a carbon copy, right? Because Bill Hicks was actually very intelligent in his comedy and the points that he made. So he's a knockoff of a knockoff, basically. No, Bill Hicks is hilarious. Bill Hicks is one of my favourite comedians.
Properly cremate someone and then wash your hands.
Yeah.
Stay 6
And
feet
then
away
Chris
from
Cuomo
them.
was like, "Did you see my scan of my lung?" He's like, "Yeah, you're a pussy." So let's go. You see Chris Cuomo now? He's saying that he wants. He's tired of being a partisan hack.
Yeah.
So he wants to leave
Really?
CNN because he thinks that they're doing Trump's bidding.
Whoa! Wait, I thought this
There
was
is.
going the other way.
I want to be
What?
clear. Violence never solves problems. But there is only one person who would ever be willing, because he's always threatened people physically. Chris Cuomo's like,
has.
"I'm tough.
Throw
When
you
I
down the
train,
stairs."
I'd do for charity. I'd do a celebrity fight with Chris Cuomo.
Of course.
I would
Yeah.
watch that.
Chris,
The only
you
reason I
picked
say
the
it is because
charity.
we both have the same combat experience, which is effectively zero. We're the exact same.
Just straight up, get a bunch of racists in the room and make some jokes to make it look like they're not complete ghouls, right? What's with this nuclear family's really good. I'm going to tell you about how I hate my wife. True. Yeah, Frankie Boyle's fairly entertaining. I think that obviously he can be a bit of an edgy boy sometimes, like all comedians of his type. But he's got a good heart, and he does genuinely believe in like social justice and stuff like that.
size. Of course, you'd have to drug test Chris. Be, of course, available in front of the paywall before we go to an Ash Wednesday. You enter in the promo code quarantine and you get $30 off because this caliber.
I feel some tension in the room as he talks about the Mug Club, as in amongst us. Right, we're all sitting here like, oh, he's talking about the Mug Club. Oh, we all know what that means, don't we? Oh, we're talking about the Mug Club.
Content doesn't fund itself, folks.
Right.
I don't know why I just did it as Kevin Spacey. This caliber of content doesn't fund itself, folks. Stop it. I didn't write it.
Wait, yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. Just now. I should have prepped more. So everyone has been asking me, before we get to Ash Wednesday, though, to take this political compass test.
Oh, no.
Apparently,
Okay,
this is
here we
a
go.
trend making the rounds.
Really?
And
Yes,
so I have to do another thing that I don't like.
Is it like a liberal test, or what do we know about this?
Is it a liberal
No,
test?
and
Oh
I
my
don't
god.
care. But you care. So
Do they really?
take the test along with me.
They're so behind on this stuff. This is so old. This has been out for years and it's been a meme for years, right?
Conservative
Right.
with
see.
libertarian leanings.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some instructions that I should know.
Yeah, so there's just a couple. They're like not really that clearly labeled. It says this isn't a survey. These aren't questions. They're propositions. To question the logic of an individual one that irritates you is to miss the point. So just so
Yeah.
they forewarn you,
He's a
there
prick.
may be illogical
Yeah.
propositions
It actually
here.
That's
says
good
the
because the
logic of-
instructions irritate me.
Yeah, exactly.
It says the logic of individual ones that irritate you.
Yeah, so I had to correct it.
Multiple.
I corrected it for them. Some
already
propositions
lost.
are extreme, some are moderate. That's how we can show whether you lean towards
Okay.
extremism or
This is- I mean,
moderation on the compass.
We're just going to keep watching, but they're basically just reading about the test. Like, who here doesn't know about the test, right? Like, everyone knows about the political compass test. Just get on with it. Get on with it, you boring fucks.
Think too much like what Rachel Maddow tells us to do. Don't think. It's
Right.
not the time for thinking.
Can't start.
And also, they're going to be intentionally vague.
Okay. I already don't like it, but by popular request, I am doing this. I would rather be waterboarded. And people think that I just say that hyperbolically. No, I would rather be waterboarded than take this test.
Absolutely. Every test we've taken other than Jordan Peterson's has sucked. It's
true.
Yeah.
And that one was
They've
incredibly
always had
uncomfortable
across the
because
board.
it had
It was,
the live results.
Right.
And everyone found out all of my deepest, darkest secrets.
Exactly. That was kind of funny, actually.
Yeah,
For
namely
us.
that I suffer from an incredible guilt complex.
Oh,
but for some reason, I'm
who'd
open
you
to new
kill?
experiences. So let's go.
Hey.
Because if you take the facets, all the comedy.
Right, we're going to speed up a tiny bit, okay?
Yep. All right. That sounds nothing like Jordan. By the way,
No, we love
Dr.
Dr.
He's
Caricature.
awesome. I want to be
We
very,
love
very
you.
clear. He's just
The problem with speeding up too much. The problem with speeding up too much is you just end up in a position where some of it's almost unintelligible and it just doesn't make sense. So I just want to slowly speed it up a bit, okay?
way of speaking.
He does. He's brilliant.
I watched a body language expert, by the way, who said that Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan was asserting dominance because his palms were down. Apparently, this means I mean you no harm, except this means
I'm gonna
I'm
smother
gonna
you.
smother you. But what about the crabs or the animals that have red under their arms and they show their signs of poison? What are they showing you there? This is back off, buddy. Hey, back off, pal.
You should do that next time you're almost going to get into a fight.
Someone let me know. Comment. Yeah, next time I get into a fight with a
This is
crab.
Yeah.
This is honestly so dull. Like, it's not even funny.
And walk side to side.
No wonder this is an hour long if he just keeps him trying to be funny, right? But now he's got these... Basically, when people... That's why you have laughter tracks on TV shows, right? Because people laugh along with a laughter track. That's what this is trying to achieve. So he wants a bunch of people there laughing so that other people think, oh, they're laughing, so it must be funny, right? But it's not. None of this. I haven't laughed once at this. Okay? And therefore it's not funny because I'm the arbiter of what's funny and not. Facts.
Is inevitable. It should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should serve humanity. Okay. I already don't. I know this is how this is going to go.
know, right?
I really
Way to
don't
start
like
out.
this test.
So
Do I have to do this?
Yes.
Can we just go to? We ran out of different. We asked for 40,000. They only sent us 4.
Yeah.
Weird.
The one benefit of Ben Shapiro doing this test alone is you didn't have all these cutaways to these other unfunny dudes making jokes about the test. Just answer the questions so we can mock you, Stephen. Okay, that's what we're here for. Look, to be real with you, I don't really care about you doing this test. I just am using this as a way to make fun of you because you're an absolute dipshit. So please just get on with it.
Globalization should primarily serve humanity. Well, I believe that should, in the world of economic globalization, a country should primarily focus on the needs of its people. So I guess that would be disagree.
I would disagree.
Okay, disagree.
Disagree. Yeah.
I'd always support.
He's not even certain of his own political principles. He not even has to rely on his gaggle of like complete moronic friends to laugh for him to make him seem funny. He also needs to defer to them for his own political positions. What an absolutely pathetic human being Stephen Crowder is. He doesn't even have strong beliefs himself. He needs to go to his dipshit friends in the room and be like, so what's my political position on this? What's my view on this? Agree? Like, that is so pathetic.
My country, whether it was right or wrong. Disagree. I do feel like if they started, rounding up MSNBC journalists, I would make sure that someone spoke for them so that there would still be one to remain to speak for me.
There you go.
So,
But only one.
Support my country. Whether also, where would we have rebuttals?
Right. We'd have a job.
We'd have a very shallow pool of
right.
content to rebut. Whether it was right or wrong. So disagree. All right. No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. Okay, here's the thing. I've always said you shouldn't be necessarily proud of intrinsic characteristics just because they're intrinsic. Like, I'm proud because I'm black. Okay, I'm proud because I'm white, and that's why I don't actually agree with the ideology of sort of white nationalists or identitarians. But
Funny though how by kind of what was it he got on Stefan Molyneux to speak to him, right? And Stefan Molyneux's like spoken to Jared Taylor. There was the whole Sean video. You know the Stephen Crowder white nationalism Sean video?
there is a difference, and I understand where they're coming from here, and this is why this poll can't be answered, poll survey can't be answered accurately, because an answer from the United States is very different from every other country. Yeah. They come from...
There's a big difference between being proud of being black and being proud of being white. Because obviously, black pride, so to speak, is about pushing back against the historic bigotry, oppression, and racism that black people have experienced. And it's the same with like gay pride, right? So the reason we have gay pride parades and not straight pride parades is because we're saying, hey, look, these people have been victims of oppression for literally years. We're only now reaching a point in history at which they can be unashamedly who they are out in public. And I say without facing discrimination. Even now, they still face discrimination. And there's still acts of violence against LGBT people, okay? But the point is that it's at least more acceptable than it was, say, 30 or 40 years ago, which is quite a low bar, admittedly. But that's the point of gay pride. It's about being open and proud of who you are, yeah? So, to compare... And it's the same thing with black pride versus white pride, yeah? Like, you've never had to worry about being proud of being white, but you have had to worry about being proud of being black because of the oppression, etc. So yeah, it's a false equivalence that he's making there. It's a both sides argument. Oh, hey, Lexi, how's it going?
Who signed on, and anyone who's taken their national...
I see no dog come.
Well, waive the values of this country. So, in my instance, I strongly disagree because I think you can be proud of your country if it's a country founded on ideals like the United States.
Wait.
Slavery. So that's something to be proud of, right?
Yeah.
Wait.
I support these values. I want to take part in the experiment.
Yeah.
That is basically a giant...
that.
That flag might as well waive the values of this country. So, in my instance, I strongly disagree because I think you can be proud of your country if it's a country founded on ideals like the United States. Because
Wait. He said, well, hang on. America were responsible for slavery in the first place. This is the classic argument. Do you remember when I talked about the black basher? Does everyone remember that point that I made? That if you engage in an activity, okay, that harms people, and then all of a sudden you go, okay, I'm going to stop doing that now. I've stopped. That should be a neutral reaction to that. not like a positive. Oh, well done. Well done. You're no longer violently beating people in the street for the colour of their skin. Congratulations, right? It's like you're putting the scales to neutral, right? It's like, how can you be proud of stopping an abhorrent practice that you started? It was in your control the whole time. You never had to do it in the first place. Ridiculous. Yeah, less than neutral, really. But you see my point in terms of morality. You're not tipping the scales, and all of a sudden you're like a good person. Yeah.
We ended slavery, so that's something to be proud of, right?
Yeah.
You and your silly little pedestrian reductive tests.
And yeah, obviously that's just one example. As people are saying in chat, there you've got the treatment of the Native American people. There's a whole host of things that you can look at in terms of American history and what it was founded on. Yeah.
And I mean that in a way that is insulting. Being reductive is not necessarily bad.
Are you filling out the answers here?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm a bit wrong in the facts in terms of starting it, but they engaged in it is the point I'm making for a long time. Just because they stopped doing it doesn't mean...
The way we set this, I'm doing it on my iPad, and Too Cute Maddie is doing it live, so that's why I'm saying everything verbally. Okay, I think I'm going to strongly disagree with this now. And then you'll hear a click, click. All right. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Strongly disagree. Again, though, does that, like, there are I mean, if you're going to compare, like, there are differences. Like, if you compare me to probably Bill's family tree, height.
Right.
It's true.
But he can crawl into smaller spaces.
Yeah.
That's valuable.
Oh my god. So he's gone from like, I strongly disagree with that, who isn't willing to truly stand up for what they believe in and tries to hide it. But we're tiptoeing around it.
It's a benefit.
He doesn't bemoan the coach
Like
airline seat because he can still swing his legs like the little Oscar Mayer kid at the dock.
It's like a wiener dog. I can get into the ferret hole. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I have a story about that. Did I ever tell you my ex-girlfriend's grandfather in Germany had a
Wiener dog?
dachshund? I won't be reduced to that. Dachshund. And it was chasing a gopher into a hill, and or a groundhog. What's the difference? Doesn't matter. So he's chasing a groundhog into a hill. A hole inside a hill. The wiener dog. Dachshund.
Sorry, one other thing I've noticed actually is that like Steven Crowder. Well, like, I've noticed this before. Maybe other people can relate to this as well in chat. The opinion that he's actually got. Did you see what I mean by that? So all of a sudden we're talking about gophers and it's kind of a fun joke. Whereas just a few moments ago he was skirting around the concept of race realism, right? So yeah, it's kind of interesting that. I wonder if that's like an intentional thing.
This is what you do to me. This is what you do to me. You've all gone down in my... Now you've gone down in my book. So, chases the groundhog. The groundhog goes in. I guess at the end there's like sort of like a groundhog cul-de-sac, and it loops around, buries the wiener dog in the hole. Ooh. Groundhog comes out. They have to dig in from the top of the hole. Took them like 8 hours.
Oh wow!
The dog was fine. The dog was fine.
Wow.
Good. True story.
Brilliant.
You want to message bastard? You're gonna stay here.
Groundhogs are heartless.
They are.
They don't like superior qualities compared to other races. No. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Okay, so he did strongly disagree, but why not just Bert? I don't know. Interesting.
There's no neutral. It depends on the context. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I mean, either disagree or agree. Dealer's choice. What do you think on this? Agree or disagree?
I put agree.
Is he talking about like foreign policy?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, because I understand sometimes you have to make friends with a lesser evil to take out the worst evil.
I think he's talking about Fortnite, and so I put agree. Yeah.
But there's
I was answering mine based on Call of Duty protocol.
Oh no!
Free for all.
This
is why this test is bad.
Yes.
There's a difference between having common values and having a common enemy. Right. And having common values is more friendship, and having common enemy it's like a co-belligerent more kind of relationship. So I don't know. I mean, it's a very good question.
I think you used a lot of words and said nothing. So just I am going to.
It's taken an entire room of complete rubes to figure out what Stephen's political positions are. This is embarrassing. Does Stephen not realise how completely embarrassing it is, him having to defer to his team of yes men? This is pathetic. This is the most pathetic political compass video I've ever seen.
To spite, agree.
Thanks.
Got it.
Agree.
Duly noted, sir.
You smug bastard. Military action that defies
genuine
international
opinions. I mean, yeah, the enemy of my enemy is a friend. I don't think that's a particularly egregious thing anyway. But anyway, let's continue.
Law is sometimes justified. Agree. Well, again, this is a perfect example. It's not military.
Here we go. Yeah, war crimes are legit. Let's commit some war crimes, lads. Let's commit some war crimes throwing the libs. Completely is. All he cares about is slurping dollars out of the big juicy cock money cock.
When you talk about big tech, they're saying, well, we have to please all nations. Then haul me out in cuffs to Pakistan, sweetheart, because I have actual complaints from the government of Pakistan. In other words, no.
The entire government.
The United States
Yes.
matters more.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I agree. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What? Hang on, wait. Okay, he does know.
economic
He does know. He does know. He does know that he's included in that. Okay, good. Good. But if he's worried about it and he does it, that is literally him. I mean, he does know. No, he does have self-awareness. He did a little look around, okay? He did a little look around. So he does know. He's self-aware, but he's still going to engage in it, right? Yeah. Look, let me, in case you missed it.
Dan, yeah.
A perfect example is not military, but I have direct experience with this when you talk about big tech. They're saying, well, we have to please all nations. Then haul me out in cuffs to Pakistan, sweetheart, because
Sorry,
they
I'll
want.
skip
I have
back a bit
actual
far.
complaints from the government of Pakistan.
Look, watch.
In other words,
watch.
no.
The entire government.
The United States
Yes.
matters
Come
more.
on. Get back to it. Come on.
So I said, okay, I agree. There is now
Watch,
a
watch,
worrying
watch. Watch
fusion
his
of
face.
information and entertainment. Agree.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I agree.
Look, see? He does know. He does know. He is aware. He is self-aware there, okay? Hey! Thank you very much for that. For the 100 bits. Hey, Crowder, this question isn't to do with the topic at hand, but what's your opinion on centrist and after the Out of Armor Skeptic? Wait, I'm not Stephen Crowder. Wait, I'm not Stephen Crowder. I'm Judd Logic. I'm sorry. I hope you didn't feel you wasted your bits. Armored Skeptic. Oh, no. This isn't me, okay? I'm not Stephen Crowder. My opinion on centrists and armored skeptics. I mean, I guess I'll go through it after this, otherwise I'll be off on a tangent.
If economic globalization, I'm not a.
Come on.
4 options: strongly disagree, agree.
Come on, Crowder, let's get some class consciousness going on. I want to see some class consciousness from you, my guy. Please, I beg you. Just this once. Have a good take for once in your life.
Agree.
I mean, I guess agree. I guess agree, but I don't. It's not in every instance. It depends. It depends.
I agreed as well. But
I mean, if you go down to a place, like if you go down to Sweden or Iceland, you're going to stick out a little more than the United States. We're more divided by class. But again, that's because we're a country of ideas, not a country of a race of people. So
I think if you
I don't believe it. Can you believe that? I'm actually shook by that. I'm actually like a little bit shook. Are you?
I mean, if you go down,
Thank you for the bit.
to a place like.
I salute you, Comrade Crowder. May we build a glorious nation of communism together in the United States.
people are more divided by class and nationality, but there are 5 or 6 or 10 other things that are
Yeah.
more divisive.
Yeah.
Such as morals or cultural beliefs or that
Or
type
good
of thing.
things like defined by your beliefs, defined by your family. And this is something
I'll
that's really
follow
important.
through
This
this
I can
anyway.
tell is likely.
Oh my
written
God,
by
we've got so much-
If
we've
someone
got so
ever tells
much
you
to
that
go.
they
We
care
need to
just
push
as
through
much about
this.
the entire globe, or even the country, or even their town, as they do their son, their daughter, their wife, or husband, they are lying to you.
Yep.
And so any system of government that is not predicated on the idea that people will look out for their family first it's a sham. Okay. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Well, I don't think we should be controlling any of it. But disagree, I guess. I don't know if anyone
We shouldn't be controlling any of it. Imagine thinking within the current economic system that we shouldn't take some effort to control those things. Just let it be a complete free for all. Mr. President, there are 20 million people unemployed, and by the end of the week there'll be another 50 million people unemployed. We're in the middle of an unprecedented economic crash. We shouldn't be controlling any of it. The free market will decide, okay?
agrees with me, you can shout out.
So I agree, because I think if you control inflation a little bit better, it'll help unemployment.
I didn't like the. I mean,
Maybe.
again, the questions themselves are so screwed up. I mean, the idea that we're going to value unemployment is this whole idea that you want to create a lot more jobs. Let's go around and smash all the cars. You're going to need a lot more jobs. We're going to bring those horse jobs back.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Horse jobs?
It's not the quality of life.
horses,
If all you're doing is trying to get people.
A dollar will be worth $10 million tomorrow. Oh yeah, that's another point as well. Don't worry about inflation. We've got news that we're experiencing hyperinflation. And a loaf of bread now costs $10,000. Our government or economic systems that we operate under currently, because whilst we all may disagree inherently with the way they operate, they do operate as they do at the moment, and obviously we've got to account for that, right? I'm smart, thank you. You're the first person who's ever said that to me, to be honest. Most people just come in here and abuse me, but there we go. Imagine going through law school and you just spend half your time on the Racist Friends podcast. True. Yeah, they've not thought the implications through at all. They don't. This is the thing. They just think something without considering what the implications of that thought or belief are, you know?
But again, some of these may be illogical.
Yes. Thank
Or
you for the
intentionally
instructions.
vague.
Yeah.
Right.
Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I agree. And I don't mean intrusive
I mildly
regulation,
agree, yeah,
but
sure.
there does need to be some regulation.
Needs to be a level playing field for all of us.
Well, there also needs to be some regulation to make sure that corporations aren't abusing the law, aren't breaking the law just like individuals.
Right.
In other words,
Yeah,
there
right.
needs to be
Makes
some
sense.
regulation
Yeah.
to make sure that you're not shoplifting. There also needs to be some regulations to make sure that owners of corporations aren't shoplifting.
Yeah. If you're pouring
On a
some
bigger scale.
chemical in
Okay.
somebody else's lake, that's a problem.
It's not good.
Like Nestle. Send your letters to AudioWave.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's a fair take, I suppose. But I mean, it depends what sort of regulation he has in mind, you know? I mean, if this regulation is like, companies shouldn't be allowed to pour toxic waste into water, we should stop them doing that, and that's kind of the limit of it, you know? There's a lot more corporations can do to have an influence and impact on the environment, right? There's the sort of meme of like, it's like on The Simpsons. I think it's like the nuclear power plant is just pouring its waste into the water or something like that. I can't remember the exact detail, but obviously, like, it's not exactly how it works. It's a lot more complicated than that, right?
Each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
What I thought it was.
To his ability to
What?
each according to his need is a fundamentally
Wait,
good idea.
listen again.
No.
From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. Is
Wait.
this trying to say you eat what you kill, or is this trying to say that, like
No.
China,
It's the
where people
This
should
is
be
the
going
Communist
like, you
Manifesto
took your exam, here's a sickle, go to field.
This
You know what I mean?
means, This means you make a whole bunch of money.
What? How can he get away with this? He can't be getting away with this. The racist accents. What? Oh my god, that is an omega yikes. Yikers! Can we get some yikers in chat for that, please? Oh my god, what the hell?
Money, that's fine. You don't need all of it. Whatever you make is going to be distributed to people that need it.
Okay,
more
then
than
disagree.
You. Yeah.
It's and here's a really interesting point.
Or sorry, strong.
Hey, thank you so much for the gifted sub. So if Visor's still here, I don't know, they were watching earlier. Thank you very much for that, very much appreciated. Oh my god, I'm actually shook by that. I can't believe he's still doing this free and open to be as racist as he likes now, right?
Strongly disagree.
Strongly, yeah.
Yeah, so at a high enough level, right, we all have similar values about protecting family or love or life. It's a lot of it is the details of how you get it done, right? Because even some people would be like, look, communism might be ideally good, but you can't really achieve it. Like, there's no real way to do it with human beings, the life we live, and the resources that are available. So it's a pipe dream, right? And then other people would go, okay, but if you want to live communism, just see what Stalin did, right? So you're into communism, you're into Stalinism.
Oh
right?
my
no,
God.
that's just a different version. So it's right. So the devil is in the details on how that gets done. This is, I think, what I can already tell where we're going to be.
What? Once he got told this Communist Manifesto, he says no immediately. The thing is like, it's that relationship of communism to start. It's not like you can agree with the principle without fully agreeing with how the principle within a whole ideology has tried to be implemented in the past, right? Yeah, how did this guy get through law school? The devil's in the detail. Communism, communism is when Stalin does stuff. It always links back to Stalin with these people, despite the fact that there's, a number of different places you can look around the world where it didn't turn into Stalinism. Like Burkina Faso with Thomas Sankara.
The end of this, where the questions are clearly, kind of getting you in a direction.
What version of communism is China?
What happened there? Sorry about
The best.
Wow.
I'm contractually obligated to say that.
I was about to say,
I was unconvinced. You've swayed me. Changed my mind.
until the wet markets.
This all
That
basically
was
depends on
Stalin.
but somebody else gets to decide what your ability is and what your need is.
Well, that's
At least that's the
yeah.
communist assumption.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah,
I do
agree.
think that someone should eat what they kill. In other words, not only ability,
Yes.
but work ethic, right? Determination. I do think that people should ultimately be in control of their own destiny. When we're talking about physically here on Earth, because I believe that God is ultimately in charge of your destiny. That's why no man has a right to put limitations on your
God,
destiny. But if we're talking about each of their ability as determined by birth, as you see in communist countries, then of course I strongly disagree.
Yeah.
The free of the market, the free of the people, strongly agree.
What? They're just tying themselves in. That they know. Okay, so they know that from each according to their ability to each according to need. Is I certainly think I try to live my life by as best as I can. Right. So it's kind of they're just twisting themselves in knots to try and get away from advocating for something which actually I think if you're not a complete ghoul, you would agree is a fairly decent principle, right? People like Crowder promote. Okay, now just to sort of give my position on it, I personally, I feel anyway, I mean, obviously it's not really for me to say, I think it's more something people say of you, but I feel like I've got a really strong work ethic, and I do work hard to do for example, my mental health has prevented me from engaging in that. Do you see where I'm coming from? Yeah? So I'm fully appreciative of the principle and the fact that there may be some people out there that aren't able to engage in as strong as a work ethic as I do. Yeah? So in that case, individualism becomes a really absurd way to view this, because, you know, I as an individual, I'm privileged in that I'm in a position where I can have a strong work ethic. There could be someone that has got just as strong a work ethic as me, okay? However, because of like a disability or because of mental health or something like that, they may not be able to engage in that in the same way as I can. Do you see what I mean? So this is what frustrates me about the individualism that's on display here, is you can have a strong work ethic, but you should, you know, that should be for you personally. To put that onto others when you don't know their position is really disgusting to me, and I really disagree with it.
I already said there need to be some regulations, but we should err on the side of freer markets. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product. Strongly disagree. Because some people have crappy tap water.
Yeah. Flint.
It's your right to drink public water.
Yes.
It is not your right to have Aquafina take the water, purify it, reverse osmosis it, and or have it, or a company have it piped to your tap.
By the way, in every country where they have droughts and every country where they have a hurricane come through and knock out all these services, they love the fact that a company makes bottled water.
Yeah.
Right.
It saves
Very
their lives.
convenient.
Except Dasani.
Yeah, but that's different, isn't it? Because, you know, theoretically, and also the other thing to bear in mind, if there's like a hurricane or something like that, yeah, companies, right? Well, no, first of all, they don't like it if they have to pay for it. There's been a number of examples where price gouging has occurred. So this goes back to his free market thing as well. There's a number of examples in disaster situations where price gouging has occurred that have meant that people that are stricken by poverty are not able to get the resources that they need. Okay? What people like is when companies act in an ethical fashion as best they can, and they provide bottled water to them, perhaps. Yeah? People don't want to... People that have been struck by a hurricane don't go into like a supermarket where there's a crate of water that's on sale for like $50 and be like, oh, thank God for the free market, I can get some water, if they're like poverty stricken, right? They're like, oh my God, I can't afford this water, what am I going to do? Do you see what I mean? When I go and try and buy them, they've been price jacked. I absolutely love that. No, people love bottled water if it's supplied to them at a cost that they can afford, or even free if it's a really serious situation, right? Like, does everyone kind of agree with that broadly? Maybe I'm preaching to the converted here. But yeah, fun enough, I think that, like, you know, certainly people can take the hit, companies can take the hit, especially large companies like, say, Nestle, if they need to provide water to people that are desperate for it.
That stuff.
I like Dasani.
That stuff tastes like wet nickels.
I don't like Aquafina.
Aquafina tastes a little bit like the inside of a squirt gun. Land shouldn't be a
We all know
commodity.
that.
Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. Strongly disagree. What do you do with it?
Yeah,
You just sit on
Strongly
it.
disagree. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes
This
are made
is the
by.
thing as well. So Stephen Crowder is such an ideologue that he just looks at a question and he answers it in a way that fits his ideology, right? Like, he doesn't have any further thought about it or deeper reflection. He is literally just answering these questions in a way that purely reflect not only his political ideology, but the ideology that he wants to promote to everyone, right?
People who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society. I agree if we're talking about like speculators and people who don't actually run a business, people or people. Here's the thing: it matters if you're talking about people who receive bailout after bailout after bailout.
He's not going to give a justification. He's not going to give a justification. He's just going to say the answer that he believes, right? And that's it. There's no further explanation needed or elaboration on that. Yeah, his thoughts begin and end with dollars. And also, one other thing to bear in mind is Stephen Crowder. Like, for example, he wears the Walter t-shirt. So Stephen Crowder is sponsored by Walter, the gun manufacturer. And on top of that as well, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say for sure. I don't want to say incorrect information. But obviously there's the discussion around his other funding that he gets, right? So you start to wonder, obviously he's an ideologue, and how much of what he pushes is then influenced by the money that's behind him, right?
And aren't contributing to the economy and who are gaming the system. But I would put those people, corporate welfare queens, in the same camp as actual welfare queens.
Yeah.
That's not the same
welfare
as
queens, nice.
a company who employs people.
I think this question is basically saying somebody who has money, and the only way that they
is to like single mothers who basically, due to their financial circumstances and situation of having to bring up a kid by themselves, sometimes a situation which they have not asked for, having to rely on welfare to support their family. That's what welfare queen means. It's kind of like a mixture of a classist and misogynistic term, basically. So basically, in one fell swoop, he's just denigrating. He's denigrating not only people that are potentially poverty-stricken, but are like single mothers as well. Yeah. And yeah, this idea that it's only mothers that a single father could potentially have to rely on government support to raise their family. Because here's the funny thing: if you're a single parent, you've got a lot on your hands. What with having to raise your child, childcare costs are expensive. So therefore, as a general rule of thumb, unless you're very fortunate, if you're a single mother or a single parent, I should say, you are going to have to rely on some element of state support to support your family, which is perfectly legitimate, right? And that's not even taken into account single parents that are perhaps disabled or otherwise affected, so they can't go out and do a job. So it's just like completely disgusting on so many different levels. He's almost triggering hitting all of the different types of bigotry that you can engage in with this.
Example, the whole mortgage crisis.
Is that because peripheral vision?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, but these slits, man, they go on both sides.
So when I get tired, I get racist.
Hey,
Stephen, you're not yourself when you're tired.
Just, it's all right. It's all right. Here's a Snickers. No, I was going to say collateralized debt obligations. That's when people took mortgages and then they mix the good ones with the bad ones, and we led to a problem like that. I think is the level where you would say, yeah, I agree that it's regrettable that that's happening. But
sorry, this might be because I can only assume based on being in the UK, but you're saying welfare queens is also a racially coded term potentially as well, so it's maybe even a dog whistle. If so, he's hitting racism, classism, and misogyny all in one fell swoop. Beautiful. Wonderful. And of course, it's an example of toxic masculinity, right? Because you're assuming that it's only women that are going to be single mothers. You're making that presumption, I guess, to a degree. Or that, if you do have a parent that's a single father, they're not going to engage in a way that's negative with the welfare system, right?
Might be the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Ableism too, of course, because, of course, you could be talking about people that have got disabilities.
I'm not happy.
Yeah, that is literally the conservative jackpot. He has hit every single form of bigotry. That's almost impressive.
So now you get no cigar.
Protectionism is, I know. Can someone, is that Walther loaded?
It's not.
Hey, if you eat enough coffee, it'll do the same thing.
In trying to be at this point in trying to be an intellectual, an exercise in intellectualism, it's actually it's simplified stupidity.
It is.
This is inaccurate. This is so what are you talking about here? There are a million different answers we could give, but I know where you're trying to get me to go with this. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Agree. And I've actually become more center on that since I've woken up to you guys. The only social...
Well, protection sometimes... Yeah, I'm not going to keep banging the same drum, but he's literally just saying the things that fit his ideology without any further reasoning. It's ridiculous.
Responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Well, hold on a second. To deliver goods or services, which you may know as rights to some people, like bottled purified water.
It's the people that are running the corporations that have social responsibility.
The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I mean, I guess I'll just say agree, because I think their financial responsibility is to run the business honestly and deliver a profit to its shareholders. The rich are too highly taxed.
Oh my God. Do you notice as well that kind of goes against an answer he gave earlier, because he said he believes in regulating companies for environmental issues. But then he also says here that the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to his shareholders. So he's completely contradicting his own viewpoint there. This just proves that he hasn't thought through his positions. Otherwise, he would see that those are contradicting, right? So basically, what he's suggesting is a system in which companies don't have to worry about social responsibility. We'll just let the government step in and decide what regulations should be in place, so they don't have to worry about their own social responsibility. They can just follow the government regulations. Also, by the way, the same person that thinks that the government shouldn't step in and control unemployment and inflation. So this guy is just, he doesn't know anything. He's contradicted himself in like 3 different ways here. I'm honestly worried with all the contradictions. He's switching his head left and right, trying to figure out he's going to break his own neck at this rate.
Strongly agreed. And I'm not necessarily amongst them, but when you look at, we've talked about this, when you take into account 47% of Americans don't pay any federal income tax, then you take a huge portion of Americans who pay very little, and you take into account the federal transfers, meaning what? Public schools, when you talk about public goods and services, when you talk about welfare, when you talk about EBT cards, they actually pay a net negative over 50% tax. Go back, we did a whole segment on it, and I was really upset.
Yeah, my belief is that he hasn't thought any of these positions through at all, because it's clear he hasn't. He's contradicting himself all over the place. But here's the thing, he is just literally pushing whatever his ideology has to push. So he's an ideologue. All he cares about is pushing his viewpoint onto the world. He doesn't care about truth. He doesn't care about facts, okay? He is just an ideologue. He's just pushing his own ideology, and he's answering his questions to fit that ideology, right?
That when I dug into the research.
Have you done the research?
If you've done the research, Gerald.
The only thing Crowder's consistent on is racism. That's a good comment. That's a good meme.
Make me upset.
I love setting you down the Tom
You
Cruise
have never
path.
seen me very upset. I miss my co-host. Okay. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Off. These are actual. All right, again, now this doesn't define if we're talking about national borders, if we're talking about domestic borders, because guess what? Even the people who are not 47% of Americans who are paying nothing in federal income tax are able to procure better health care than anybody in Indonesia. So is this international or is it domestic? I'll just say,
that's a good question.
Agree.
What? What does that matter? If you're sick, right? Whether you're from another country or not. And the question still applies the same. If you can afford it, should you get better healthcare? That's like a non sequitur. What the hell?
After that, there was no strongly to either one of those.
I agree.
Yeah,
But they didn't see strongly.
God, the problems with these questions are just
Yeah.
innumerable.
What do you mean the problems? It's such a simple question. And it shows you, it helps to analyse what your political thoughts are. Whether you think like poor people should be ground into dust and fed to the rich or not, basically.
I mean, you're essentially going around just saying, well, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit higher. Can you pay a little bit better? Well, I don't know. I want the Band-Aid with the butterflies on it. Like, yeah, I'm willing to pay $7 to $50 more for that Band-Aid. Right. But is that it's higher? But is it below standard? Right? Should people have substandard?
Why would you? Okay, you've got like cancer treatment, for example, right? You could take cancer treatment as an example. Right, that's a much better, because that makes it a lot more real. It's a much more realistic example. But then he chooses this plaster thing. It completely downplays like how serious healthcare is, right? Like, do you know what I mean?
Care. This next one is: are you stuck on Band-Aid brands? Because Band-Aids stick on me.
I brought it up because I thought you were talking about that. Was real.
Strongly agree.
What?
Yeah.
Strongly agree. I was convinced by that young gentleman of color.
Yeah.
I'm stuck on Band-Aid brand because germs don't stick on me.
Brand.
By the way,
Yeah,
it
brand.
also doesn't kill either.
Okay, that was singing, but was that black person voice again? Yeah, it's the most absurd examples. Oh yeah, well, if it's like you're buying a more expensive plaster. Like, yeah, I'm telling you, most people's concerns when it comes to healthcare in America aren't plasters. Okay, it's whether they can get their diabetic treatment covered. It's whether they can get their cancer chemotherapy sorted, right? Like, oh my God, I'm honestly getting so pressed. I'm moulding right now behind the screen. Let's continue.
The brand. What did I say?
No, you have to specify brand.
Perfect.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you did.
Why are you correcting me? Is this some kind of getting back at me for your forefathers? Only a quarter of them were slaves. Okay,
Wow.
you don't even know them.
Steve was making that up.
Government should penalize businesses.
My lawyer wants to move on.
Oh yeah. That's a really good point, actually. Like, and also like Band-Aids or plasters, as we call them in the UK, are such a low cost thing. We can get them for like a couple of quid, like a couple of dollars, I'd imagine, in the States, right? So it's not even associated with like the cost of healthcare as such. Like, it's, oh my God,
has the right to provide a good service, even if it offends certain people who don't like that service.
especially.
But they don't have the ability, they don't have the right to lie to the public about it.
Right.
That's the role of the government. Like I said, a hockey referee, not soccer. because
So
it's gay.
yeah, if businesses want, they can choose not to serve black people, okay? But if they mislead them, that's when it's a problem, right? That's when it's an issue. Why does he cut off there? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you cut off at that point? It's just basically it's an arbitrary way of cutting it off so that you can still justify to your audience that, okay, look, it's okay if people don't want to serve the black people or the LGBT. That's fine, okay? If a baker doesn't want to serve the gays, I'm cool with that, just so you know, viewers. Right? But of course, you know, if they mislead the public, that's a different matter.
The reason a hockey referee matters is because a hockey referee, and you know this being from St. Louis, if it doesn't affect the flow of the game, if it's incidental, the ref keeps his whistle in his pocket.
Let it go. Yeah.
Someone wants to flop? Go ahead and flop over there with the other guys with man buns. We don't care. We're following the puck. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create
Hang on. Why would you invoke sports in that example? It doesn't make any sense. That's completely different. Oh, my God. Oh, come on, let's get through this. I keep pausing because he keeps saying dumb stuff, but let's try and get through it.
Please. Agree?
I don't.
Ooh.
I don't.
Fight. Anarchist over here.
Typically, monopolies work themselves out.
Right.
How many victims in the path of that monopoly?
I don't agree.
What, typically monopolies work themselves out? There's some things that are just natural monopolies, and that's it. Look at the trains. Trains are a natural monopoly, because you can't, of course, have like multiple different trains from different companies going down one track. They'll crash into each other. Okay? Trains are a natural monopoly. You can't get around that. It's impossible. And yeah, look at like Microsoft. Microsoft had, you know, there's loads of stuff with Microsoft. Like, for example, their use of Internet Explorer within their Windows package. Right? So like the market was strangled because of Microsoft actions. It didn't just work itself out. The government had to intervene. There's loads of examples of that happening in history, right? Same with Google and their search engine.
Ooh.
How many victims in the path of governments that overregulate?
None. They're totally fine.
Oh, boy.
Go China.
Yeah. The only monopoly you end up with is the state as the monopoly, and
We
then
got
you're all screwed.
buns of anarchy over here.
no,
That's
seriously.
because it's a play on words of the show, and he has a very nice posterior.
Oh, it's so nice.
Buns of anarchy.
Is it because I wore the tighter pants today?
Doesn't Gerald look like a square-jawed version of the Travago guy?
Yeah, I can see that. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened. I was going through my mental Rolodex going, Priceline, that's William Shatner.
Yeah.
Travels
We know
with
what's
Expedia
going
still a
on
thing. Travago. Oh, the guy who looks like the toy soldier from that kid
Captain
show.
Obvious? No.
Who was the guy with the plastic face in the kid show? Was it Bananas and Pajamas a bad guy?
What?
No, someone's
I
going
know you're talking about.
Abortion, when the woman's
what's
life
his
is
name?
not threatened, should always be illegal. Strongly agree.
Yes.
All authority. People are like, what about rape and incest? The question
Oh, here you go.
didn't include it.
No.
So don't be pedantic.
Well, it's not being pedantic, is it? By answering the question in that way, you are supporting women who have been the victim of rape or incest. You are supporting the concept that they are forced to have that kid. It's in the question. That's the whole point of the question. It's trying to establish that, right? Yeah, very pro-freedom. And when abortion comes in, yeah. Oh, God. Anyway, look, I don't want to dwell on that because that presses me quite a bit. So let's not.
All authority should be questioned. Strongly agree.
Yeah.
Or teeth. Yeah, you got to be able to
Yeah, and also, like, you know, let's just get through this video. We're not even halfway through it, okay? We need to
take it
keep
back.
pushing
Damn,
through.
no.
No, when she talked about monopoly.
I still strong.
No
What do I do
competitors
then?
since ever.
Yeah.
What do I
eye
do?
for
And she
an
has no concept of inflation.
Yeah. Well, eye for an eye and tooth for tooth is a quote from the Bible.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like,
That's why I
Well,
said
but-
disagree,
but-
because I didn't want to disagree with my Lord.
You should definitely disagree.
Lest
We're going
you be
biblical.
struck down.
Don't tell me what to agree and
No,
disagree
I said
with
if
Mr.
you're,
Travago.
if you're going biblical.
Oh, okay.
Because you brought that in.
All right, thank you.
You've heard it said. And
Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot. Of course, strongly agree. I don't even need to finish this question.
theaters.
Why do I care?
Theaters.
I want that's one of the rare instances where I want the government to shut them down. Is
Yeah,
local
yeah,
community
it's funny,
theater.
isn't it? Like, he's just sort of acquiescing to the authority in all these different cases. Like he literally just said about the abortion thing. Like, who would enforce that? The government would have to enforce that, right? Oh my God.
Did you see our Into the Woods? No, I don't want to watch cardboard cutouts and people who can't sing a note. That's why I didn't go.
I mean, I like museums, so I kind of was like, all right, I see a public good for museums. Fine.
We need subpar productions of Oklahoma.
Yes.
This country needs.
These jokes just add like.
I want a Blade Runner Oklahoma mission. See, and like no one would. Well, I don't know. Maybe people. would pay for
maybe.
that.
Wait. Why Blade Runner Oklahoma?
I don't know.
What about Judge
why
Dredd and
not?
Guys and Dolls?
Yeah.
I got the horse right here. I am Paul Revere.
I'm telling you, I would watch that.
And there's a guy that says the horse can do. Can do. I don't know how it's a Mel Gibson voicemail.
Yeah.
But I will give this production one more time.
One more time.
And you will.
Starring.
Blow me away.
He deserved it.
Yeah.
Peter starring Mel Gibson because he has to work his way back up. He's just sitting there doing West Side Story. He's like, play it cool.
He's doing the most riveting career of his time.
boy. I'll call back in 5.
Amazing.
Are you hearing me? I'm on sprint. Should not Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. Okay, this is also difficult because I come from Canada where homeschooling was so difficult that we only knew one kid my entire life was homeschooled. His name was Simon, and we were pretty sure he was retarded or a sociopath. Turns out both.
Yeah.
Because he killed a guy and didn't know why.
Oh, wow.
He just looked at him like Michael Myers. You're like, you killed him. He's like, that's not a response.
Snapped his neck.
Simon's going to be pissed.
Not that
I
Simon.
shouldn't use actual names.
This is so annoying. It literally. Oh god, I can't. We're going to push through it.
Not make classroom attendance compulsory.
Let's
All
just
right,
keep going.
agree.
We should definitely be
We don't need any
drinking.
more
Agree.
truancy beat cops running around.
Yeah.
Go swing your baton at the private schools. What is that? Is that a baton? What a billy club? Billy club.
Either
Well,
one.
and the
Don't forget the whistle.
Nice.
It's
Now, see
important.
here, you shouldn't be out there by the shopping mall. Something tells me you have a calculus class to be
I'm
attending.
really moulding here.
What are you going to do?
I'm in
Not
a
much.
bad
Just
way.
swing here. Keep swinging that.
I'm pressed.
Wow.
Putting a paddy wagon.
Yeah, put
What?
a paddy wagon.
In a paddy wagon.
The Swedish chef
Honestly,
match.
this video would be about 10 minutes long if they just removed all the unfunny jokes. It really would. This whole thing is an hour long because he just keeps cutting away to his rubes, to his gang that he's paid to laugh at his jokes. Oh my god. Okay, we're going to keep going. We're going to push through. I'm not giving up. We're going to get through the whole thing, okay? Let's keep going.
Spiggity-biggity, get back in schooling. How dare you? How all people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. I know that's attempting to be racist, so I'll just say
What is that? Come on.
disagree.
Disagree.
He's seen through the question. He sees through the trap. He's missed the racism trap. But although obviously he was doing the Chinese voice earlier, so yeah, he's not missed it that well.
Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Strongly agree. Absolutely.
Oh my
I'm
God.
pro spank, and not like the story.
I support the beating of children. That's a good take, isn't it? This is the oh my god. And also earlier, what did he say about how you shouldn't always Stephen Crowder. Okay, you heard it here first, people. Stephen Crowder is pro child abuse. Fact.
That
Loving
Vision
the
Goldman
spank.
was telling us before air.
I think there are more effective ways a lot of times, but I am.
Everyone else got quiet because you think he can fire you?
No, I spoke up. You just chose not to listen.
I made a funny
Sorry, what
face.
did you say?
That's
No,
not
it's
pro
like
thinking, I just think.
his team of rubes that laugh at his jokes aren't challenging him. They're not like, hang on a sec, Crowder. You strongly agree with that. That's a kind of a yikes take. Maybe no, they're just laughing along. Oh yeah, beating children, hilarious.
There are better ways most of the time.
Not
all the time.
with me.
Well, that's true.
Not
It
with
does depend on the
little
child.
3,
Yes,
4,
hey,
5 year old
yeah, problem
Steven. I was
sometimes.
unpunishable if not violence.
Hey, do you think you would have listened if the bamboo splinters had come out?
Did you get hit with bamboo?
No, stabbed with keys once.
Well, that's not nice
How
because
did she
at least with
stab you?
bamboo it's
This
renewable.
guy is like a race bootlicker. Like he makes jokes about bamboo and stuff. Like it's honestly like imagine having so little self-respect that you go on with a bunch of white people and just make jokes at your own expense about your race. Like what kind of pathetic bootlicker would you have to be to do that, right?
How do you not stab someone with keys, Gerald?
Yeah. Have
He
you
was
ever
on
done
the
it? It's
piano.
like
How do you
stab
take them
keys.
off of the piano and stab you with? Are you talking car keys?
It's like he's
I'm
never
car
used
keys.
keys.
Wow.
Well, you said it for piano, and I'm like, piano keys.
Gerald
This
lives a
doesn't make any
privileged
sense.
life.
You know, if you were a band, you would be the Black Hole Keys.
I see what you did.
It's natural for children to keep some
It's
secret.
like the scene in Shrek where the peasants have to laugh at Farquaad's jokes. That's so true. Of course, studies show that like corporal punishment for children is completely ineffective. But obviously, these people do not care about facts, logic, and reason as we do.
From their parents. Strongly agree. I mean, I don't really know. It's natural
I
for
mean,
some kids to keep secrets. I don't know.
Kids lie all the time.
Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
Agreed.
First,
Agreed.
is that parent secret thing a political question?
I have no idea.
I said on
Is this? Yeah. Are these political questions or is this trolling for underage boys?
It sounds like someone had
How do
like
you
a-
feel about
Would you like to
socialism?
see- yeah.
How do you feel about the nationalization of banks? Also, shh. Can you keep secrets?
Right? Yeah.
I feel like someone's making this from home. They're working from home, and they're like, "See, look, Johnny, it's on the test that says you should not keep secrets from your
government
parents."
I'm not going to pause
I
the
already
comedy,
selected
the
share
alleged
cookies.
comedy bits. We're going to push through.
Wow.
The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. Agree. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Strongly disagree. You guys agree? Anyone here agree?
No. I agree with
There'd
what
be a
you
few
said.
people here who wouldn't be on the reproduction
Yeah.
list if it was being created by someone in Washington, D.C. Oh, I don't even want your answer because you guys started it.
No, he answered the we question. He said that he doesn't think people should be arrested for personal use. I know, yeah, sorry, one thing to bear in mind is like, yeah, Stephen Crowder doesn't want to engage in eugenics. Like, that's not a point to go, oh, well done, Stephen. That's like the base level opinion that people should have, right? It's like a very low bar to think that people. So, yeah, we're not going to congratulate him for having a few good takes on some, just a second ago he was saying he wants to beat children. So, let's go easy on the praise when he doesn't have a completely garbage take, okay?
started it. You're just the only ones who still carry the
just
torch.
family
I'm not saying it's my position, but the fine government of China would strongly agree.
Right. I like our early army's position. I'm going to cut off your balls so that you cannot infect the rest of the world.
That's disgusting.
It was good. It was a good position.
It was a good position.
No more ball talk.
That
Children
film was
talks about
saved.
this.
That film
The
was
first
saved
half hour
by
by him.
That's the only part
That's it.
worthwhile.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
You stop it after he's
Clockwork
done.
Orange. Like,
This
how
is
many
such a slog,
hobos do you need to
honestly.
watch get beat up?
Yeah. So many.
Brilliant.
We get it.
Brilliant.
Oh,
on,
yeah.
get on to
Saw Space Odyssey. Great 20-minute intro that's nonsensical. You wasted my time. The most important
Time
thing
wasting
for
sons of-
children to learn is to accept discipline. You lack discipline. I guess.
Stop it.
I guess agree. I mean, I think the most important thing they need to
know
learn
what
is how
Jocko
to
would
interact
say?
with the world.
Yeah,
And that
I
requires
disagreed
discipline.
because I thought there was something else more
And
important.
don't miss the bowl. Guys, you clearly
There are
don't
low
have
bars.
kids yet. I'm going to tell you right now, keep it in your f***ing diaper is rule number one.
Dude,
okay?
happens all the time.
Don't even bleep that.
This is going to be
Parents to be need to know.
No, we
the facts.
absolutely
That's
believe
true.
that. Thank God for the delay as we
Yes.
go live now.
Yeah.
No, I think this is going to be the equivalent to, you know how when we were kids and we like would pop in the VHS from like our third birthday?
Yeah.
Your kid's going to pop this
Yeah.
and sense the underlying rage.
That
that's
time my
where I
kid
get it.
shit up his entire back. I have no idea how it got up there.
It's the Mel Gibson of fathers. Keep the shit in the bowl!
One more chance.
You are out of chances. First I put the Cheerios in there, and you missed those!
So
Why is he
angry.
shitting on Cheerios?
Oh my god. Crowder's posting cringe, what a shocker. But all of his friends laugh along. They know that every time they don't laugh, Crowder docks $10 off their wages.
How do you even aim for
My
it?
You pee in the
parents put
Cheerios
Cheerios
now.
in for when I peed. That's a trick. To pee
Wait,
in
what?
Cheerios.
Right, when you
yeah,
pee.
you put Cheerios in the bowl so
Little
you aim
loops
for
to
Cheerios.
aim for.
But the problem is then the Cheerios go too close to the edge and
And
you're
then
not
you're-
peeing for the center.
Yeah.
At least I didn't.
You're peeing on the walls.
And plus, I'm not gonna lie, there might have been a spite pee or two mixed in there. I was like, oh yeah, where's the Cheerio?
Oh,
in the back of the
Cheerios?
pantry. Oh,
Get back to the
these.
questions.
Got it.
The
Got
Cheerios.
it. Good
Please,
call.
What is this
Dad.
supposed
please,
to represent?
Stephen. I want to get rid of
I mean,
video.
this was actually I was fishing.
Yeah.
okay.
What do you?
Also, the
just
interesting
well
thing
endowed
is
as a
when I go
child.
fishing, I do it with my.
Okay.
Thank you
All right,
for
Kevin
explaining.
Spacey.
I really appreciate it.
The Prince Albert comes in handy. I just put a little bobber on it. And pull it. Oh no, is it a snack? It's a Cuomo nipple ring.
Ow.
That is. I don't feel good
We'll
about
get back to the questions now. Everyone chill.
I want better
We're good.
for this
Sorry
show.
for asking. Yeah.
The next installment will be a mass Monday. There are no savage and civilized people. There are only different cultures. Strongly disagree because cannibalism.
Yeah, that's true. They
that
do
was
eat
a thing.
people.
Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society
Wait,
support.
whoa. We missed something there. He slipped that one under the radar. He basically just gish gallop jokes at us for like 5 minutes, and then he just yes, of course there are savage and civilized people. He slipped that under the radar. He's tried to slip that under our noses, but we caught him. Okay, we caught him suggesting that there is such a thing as a savage people. Okay. This goes back to... Didn't he answer earlier and said that he doesn't believe that races are inherently inferior or superior to each other? But now he's just said that there's such a thing as savage people. Like, hang on a sec, what is it? Do you either think that there's, like, no difference between the races, or do you think that there's such a thing as a savage people? So, yeah. Well, no, he can't argue that it's culture, because he says here he strongly disagrees with the idea that there's different cultures as part of that question. So the only way you can interpret that is he thinks that there is such a thing as savage people and civilized people. Interesting. Intriguing. Tried to slip that under, but we caught you, Stephen. We caught the mast slipping, my dude, despite some of your previous answers. Now you're like a little bit more comfortable. You're slipping into what you really believe from the sounds of it.
Yeah, baby.
Agree.
Strongly.
Strongly agree.
That's biblical.
When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
I would agree.
I think you need to deal with it and then move on. And I think, again, societally right now, we live in a society where people really encourage wallowing.
Yeah.
Like talking about your feelings to be productive, to analyze them and move on, but we've forgotten about the analysis of moving on.
part.
And now we have an entire industry that relates to talking about feelings.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't feel good right now.
Oh my god, therapy, what a terrible concept. God, this guy's so disgusting and he's going full mask off now. But that's the thing, like, what does he actually mean by this, though? You can be a little sad as a treat. What's Stephen Crowder gone through anyway? I'd be interested to understand that. Because there are some people out there who've been through, like, horrific, absolutely horrific things in their life. And very sadly for them, it is not just a case of talking about your feelings and moving on. Sometimes the damage is so severe that it will be with you your entire life. And all you can hope to do is maybe control it. Right? But you can't just move on from it. Some people don't have that luxury, Steve-O.
Here's a pill.
Yeah, that'll fix it.
Yeah, pretty much.
What
Here's
pill?
another pill for the
what
side
pill
effects,
can I
though.
take for regretting a joke that I wish we weren't taping live that relates to my being a fishing rod?
I believe it is dispensed by a wolf.
Is that Lexapro?
Jelly bellies. Jelly bellies. Yum.
Ronald Reagan knew what he was doing. When you are in trouble, it's better to think about it, keep busy with more cheerful things.
Yeah,
Generally,
yeah.
agree.
Stephen Crowder is a failed stand-up comedian. He's a failed comedian that's managed to cut out a good living, saying racism on the internet for money.
Yeah.
First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. Disagree.
That's not true.
You know why? Because I know some first-generation immigrants, and this is one area where I disagree with, and identitarians get mad. Why don't you care about the preservation of your people? Because a lot of my people are assholes. So,
true.
if you mean by my people, white, but I know first-generation immigrants who are far more American than kids who were raised here.
Yeah.
Because my problem is not with immigrants coming here and taking jobs. My problem is with entitled Americans taking 4-year gender studies programs and then demanding that they have a job subsidized. No problem with the Indonesian. I don't know why I keep going to that. No problem with the Bangladeshian. What is it, Bangladeshi? Can we say Bangladeshi?
Bangladesh.
But Bangladeshi
Bangladeshi.
sounds like Paki.
It does.
Bangladeshian? I don't want to be racist.
No, there's Pakistani and Bangladeshi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds wrong.
You just can't call
Bangladeshi.
him a bangi. You can't call him a bangi.
I can't call him
Bad bangi. No bangi.
No
No
bangers
bangers.
and mash.
No bangers.
No.
Got it.
All right, Bangladeshi shopkeeper who pays his taxes and is grateful to be in America. He is far more American than people
agree.
banning
Right.
speakers on campus.
Can I say-
Good
can I
people
say
are good people.
One really quick point.
Yeah.
Regardless of your race, your background, what level of immigrant you are, because everyone immigrated here at some point.
me.
It's about gratefulness and not necessarily cooperation, but just like getting along with people.
Right.
And you could be someone who's a 10th generation American and be
I
not
feel like
grateful.
I feel like
excited
the
to be
reason
around.
you maybe hate this lawyer person so much is because they're sort of happy to just go on this show and have their race referenced numerous times and have jokes made at their expense about their race, and it's kind of like enabling some of the racism that happens, right? Like he's there laughing along. I didn't know if he actually laughed specifically, but he's happy to be there when Stephen Crowder does like a racist Chinese accent. Do you know what I mean? And then if someone says it's racist, well, obviously he can just point to him and go, well, look, no, I've got my half Asian lawyer there. That's what he calls him, right? So it definitely is in some way enabling it. Yeah. Oh my God, you're one of the good ones. That is exactly what it is. True.
And moving forward as a country,
Right.
or as a community, or as a culture, and you could be here 5 minutes and be that person.
Right.
So,
Who's more American, Yakov Smirnov or Alyssa Milano? I rest my case, Your Honor.
Done.
What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us. I guess I disagree, but I
Yeah.
don't like the question,
Just
and I
because
don't like who
always.
created this.
Yeah. Strongly disagree.
No
with the person who
broadcasting
created
institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. Strongly agree. Oscar the Grouch should be shimmying that trash can up to food stamps so fast it would make his can spin.
it. Wow.
Our civil liberties,
Not an
page
Oscar
4
fan,
of 6. God, we're 37 minutes in. I'm so
Yikes.
sorry, folks.
No,
Again,
it'll be-
hit the notification. I have to do this. Hit the notification bell if you haven't yet hit
Oh
all
my
notifications.
God. We
because
don't have time for
Krypton's
you to
something a whole
shill,
lot. Of
Stephen.
course,
Get on
the
with it.
audio
Come on.
podcast is available on Apple Podcasts.
We don't have time for you to shill, please.
Yes.
Come on, I want to finish
And
this
of course,
video.
use the promo code quarantine.
I've been going for so long.
Shows there every
I'm
day.
in
We're
actual
free all this
pain.
month. All videos,
My
don't
head
do
is
any
in
of that. You can't even
pain.
be bothered to- It burns to hit notifications. Just check back every night.
Just imagine that he's talking about the dog being full of mud cum people, okay? We're over halfway through now. We're nearly there, okay?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Absolutely. I knew you would plug that because you are a part of it.
I'm a part of this too.
That was strangely nice. It was nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
well,
Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
Okay, good.
Gerald, we just wasted your one nice thing. For
I
the
know.
year.
No, some
go.
people got mad at me. They're like, I think Gerald should speak more during Mass Monday. Just so you know, I literally created a show map, Audio Wake, and I said, you guys are the guys I want to hear on this. So
Why
these
did I
are
agree to do
these are
this?
the points I want to
I should
include.
have done
These
this
are
in
the Bible verses I think
2 parts,
are relevant,
but whatever,
but I
whatever.
want you
And then
to
go.
take the lead. Silence. So it's not my fault.
That wasn't
It's not
silent.
my fault.
I
He's a mute.
spoke a lot.
No,
I'm
think some
surprised
people
that
said they would
they
like to
said
see a
that.
Mass Monday show from you every week.
Oh boy.
Yeah, listen. I give you credit because Gerald is so good natured, right? But Gerald is absolutely brilliant when it comes to areas, particularly of theology. And Gerald, you got a great, when we were used to be on radio, had a great
Yeah.
voice for radio, and now of course you're telegenic. Now that you don't have the faux hawk anymore and the affliction shirts.
Yeah.
You're
Much better.
laughing,
That's
but
awesome.
that's true.
It is. No, I'm laughing because it's true.
There's a fleur-de-lis on his ass embroidered somewhere in a recent timeline.
There's still an imprint.
See
I
if you
can't-
can find the
I
young
can't get it
adults
out.
church group. I'm sure they'll turn up.
I was trying to be cool.
Wasn't working.
Trying. Keyword.
Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
TSA, that kind of thing.
A significant
Magic
advantage
Lantern,
of a
right.
one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic. Completely disagree.
Yeah.
So technically, it's
Sad.
actually true. It's just like why people say
Right.
the problem with dictatorships isn't the control, it's that people do bad things.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that we want a one-party state.
Right.
Well, no, it's not saying that necessarily you want it. It's just saying that it does solve the problems, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I kind of disagree with I do disagree with the concept of like a one-party state, but like, I don't think you can deny that it would potentially solve some of those issues. I don't know. Maybe that makes me a fascist. Who knows? I'll let you decide, chat. But I don't know. There can still be like administrative stuff, and you know, I don't know if it completely removes them. I guess I don't know. It's a. I can't remember how I answered that when I did the political compass.
Yeah.
Like,
it avoids all the arguments. Like none of the whistleblowers in China are there. They don't argue.
Right. It's super easy. You don't have to like worry about counting.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What problem? Whistleblower?
No problem.
Not a pee.
But it still doesn't mean it's good. It's obviously not good. I mean, except China.
Kill whistleblower.
And the Mao said that it was good.
Oh,
Although
hey Mark, how's it going? You good?
the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. Strongly disagree.
Strongly, yes, as strong as possible.
The death penalty should be
Okay, so yeah, like I say, let's not get too excited about some okay takes that Stephen Crowder's given it. Don't forget he wanted to beat children, okay? Never forget that in this whole video.
an option for the most serious crimes. Agree. I don't really have a strong opinion on it, but I
I'm
lean
strong.
toward agree.
I'm strong.
Whatever's the cheapest way to dispose of the trash.
Kill him twice.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Oh my god. Like, look, I'm a big believer in rehabilitative and restorative justice, so that kind of flippant answer to that disgusts me. Like, just because someone commits a crime, that really is dehumanizing. Like, just because someone commits a crime doesn't mean they're trash, okay? Like, someone can commit a crime for a whole number of reasons, okay? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean they're trash, even if it's a really serious crime. Rehabilitation, everyone deserves a shot of redemption. I think restorative and rehabilitative justice is possible, largely speaking, with everyone. And in cases where it's not, it should be a case of removing them from society so they're not a risk. Okay? Yeah, exactly. That is kind of, yeah. I don't know. There's something inherently wrong to me. And again, this is the person that has like some issues with like the state and the government in some of his answers, but he's happy for the state to step in and murder people. Like, that's just a complete contradiction to me.
Wow.
I do agree, though.
That's not an episode of West Wing I want to see. I feel like there had to be a death penalty episode, right?
There was.
Yeah.
And they ended up struggling with it.
Right. Or what's his name?
yeah.
What's the guy's name? Whitley? The guy who played Judge.
Yeah.
Where he went,
Bradley Whitford.
Madonna, it's wrong to kill people. And his forehead keeps growing.
So they brought up an issue and they
favorite
struggled with it. That sounds like an interesting episode of West Wing.
Well, no, he struggled because of his Catholic faith. They're not supposed to believe in the death penalty, apparently.
I didn't even remember the episode, but that's
IMDb.
so
I do.
that's
I remember all of it, in
Just
fact.
jokes.
That's so
I don't even
sad.
remember.
I'd love to like...
So sad. That he
Like,
knows that.
It's taking up value.
I'd love to debate Stephen Crowder on something like the death penalty if I ever could. Like, I think I could do quite well in that because I've got quite a lot of perspectives and views on it. I've thought about it quite a lot. I really think I could do a good job of that.
And it was television related.
It was television related. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. In a civilized society, I mean, I guess I agree in the sense that you need some sense
Structure.
of authority and structure.
Leaders.
Doesn't mean that someone has dominion over you outside of the legitimate purview of government.
Yeah.
But
I can
guess
see
that's
disagree and agree on that. Like, because there's caveats.
If you disagreed at all, if you disagree with that statement, the way it's framed, you would have to be an anarchist because disagree would mean that you don't believe anyone should have authority over anyone at any point.
Right.
I don't necessarily know
Maybe,
that
yeah.
people. I think there should always be someone above you. But I mean, even the president has people above them. They have international sort of accountability. Let's be honest, we don't really care about those.
And they really do.
But,
Come on,
but,
push
always,
through.
but I
We
don't
need
think someone
through it
always
now.
needs
We're
someone
getting-
below them to be
we're
commanded.
over halfway.
That's how I read the question. Maybe I read it negatively.
So I don't know.
It's not a good
It's a
question.
terrible question.
Thank you, audio.
I put
It's a
strongly
bad
disagree.
audio.
I put strongly disagree because I read it in a different way. I mean,
Right.
Well, don't change your answer. Keep it the way you
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Intention-
Well, then I guess you've convinced me I would say disagree, but we already entered it. Can I put in disagree? I'll put in disagree.
Put in
I agree with the first
disagree.
part that there needs to be rule of law,
Yes.
but that doesn't mean that every person should have someone who's subservient.
Right. The people
an
below to be
illustration.
commanded.
See,
I was like,
I
I'm not
read it
gonna
as
command
though
them.
you have to like always be obeyed. Someone that you have to always obey, and the people below always have to be commanded, which I strongly disagree with because otherwise, how do you have dissent and all that?
That's a very insightful observation because I read it as a sequel title to As Above, So Below, and that shit sucked.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's odd. They would
don't
include it
need
in
that.
this
Wow.
questionnaire.
Really?
Oh,
It wasn't even among the top 5 of found VHS genres of horror films.
Yeah, this was written by Anton LaVey, actually.
Oh, wow.
whole-
Who the
this
hell's
whole
that?
quiz.
this BuzzFeed
With the
survey
forward by
sucks.
Joe Swanberg.
We watched YouTube videos.
Come on, please,
Found
Crowder.
footage questions. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Disagree. I think most abstract
Political-
art
what does this have
sucks,
to do with political?
but I don't agree. There can be abstract art that is of value. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Agree. I think I
Oh my god, of course. Yeah, I just inherently disagree with him on this point. I think rehabilitation is the most important aspect of of criminal justice. Absolutely. That's just, I've really grounded my axioms on that one, okay?
I disagree with people who say, I think that there needs to be punishment.
Well,
that's the
Justice is punishment.
No,
justice is not rehabilitation. This question is about in criminal justice.
Right.
Justice is punishment fitting the crime. I think it's great if after justice we can rehabilitate.
Well, no, rehabilitation can be a form of justice. This person, Stephen Crowder, doesn't even know what he's talking about. He doesn't even understand these very simple terms. Of course, rehabilitation can be a form of justice. What an absolute buffoon. What an absolute moron. This person has got absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He hasn't thought his positions through whatsoever.
People.
Right.
But when you have places like is IKEA Sweden, right? Go look actually a story. Alexander Gustafsson, who fought in the UFC, he committed like a violent crime. I think I don't know exactly what he did, but it was violent. He admitted it was violent. He reformed. He became a better guy. But he was like a hood, right? He was a street tough.
Yeah.
In Sweden?
I know.
Yeah, that's weird.
He was.
Going through Ready Revo?
But you can see this kind of cell he was in the prison. It was like an IKEA display.
Well,
Yeah, they're like
I
five-star
think there's a little
hotels.
bit of balance here. So I completely agree that justice has to be served, but I think we would be better off as a society if we spent a lot more on rehabilitation than we did on just punishing.
What should be more important in the realm of criminal justice? Punishment or rehabilitation? What is more important when we're
I'm
talking
just
about justice?
assuming that you're going to have justice in there already. Maybe that's why I'm reading
No,
the
but you
question
can't
that way.
assume. Don't assume.
But it said, which is more important? It doesn't say get rid of one or the other.
It says
says
in
which is
criminal
more important.
justice, not in what is better for society. In criminal justice.
A bunch of complete buffoons talking
That's
about
you
concepts they
saying.
know
That's
nothing
not
about.
paper.
I'd rather
Yeah,
eat
the
glass
paper
than
has the
listen to
question.
this.
None of us have
Okay,
papers. Why are
move
we
on.
arguing?
I like how Gerald changes the question and then he's like, "But this is my answer, man."
Yeah.
I have an answer.
I bet
so
you'd love to meet
formulate.
him on the opposite side of a courtroom.
Yeah, you're
I
right.
see where this is going.
The question really is this.
And let's grab the KY.
Wow.
Metaphorically.
Day one in prison, huh?
Yeah. You wouldn't do well in prison with those fleur-de-lis jeans.
No. It's like a homing
In the
beacon.
fine behind, she said.
We thought pedophiles fared poorly in federal prison. Like,
Ugh.
man, I cannot tolerate pedophiles. That guy wearing embroidered flower jeans.
Damn.
He ain't gonna walk right for a week.
Look, it's been like over a decade.
Why did I do that
Oh,
voice?
excellent. Jokes about male prison rape. Fantastic. Good stuff. There we go. Just engaging in a little bit of the old toxic masculinity there. Ha ha ha, rape funny, ha ha ha. Nice. Good stuff. Always good to hear that, Always good to hear that. Joking, yeah, there are definitely. I am inherently against the idea of jokes like that, regardless whether it's a man, a woman, any person, whatever the case may be. I'm firmly against any kind of jokes along those lines. Yeah.
Statistics.
Yeah, the rape is justice. Yeah, that's what I think. That's maybe what he's insinuating as well. Maybe that like a paedophile being sexually assaulted is some form of justice, right? Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
It's terrible.
Would someone get that joke if I said in federal prison? Oh, is he wearing jeans with flour on it?
No, Asians don't go to jail.
Yeah.
Only in China.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you should feel bad for judging me.
I do.
No.
It's a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals. See, this is more relevant to your. Actually, you know what? Though I agree. some criminals can
Some
be
criminals,
rehabilitated.
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Some criminals, yeah.
Yeah, I do agree with that too.
Bane.
The business person and the manufacturer
disagree.
Yeah.
are more important than the writer and the artist. But a writer.
I don't think. Me personally, I don't think it's a waste. I think you should try with everyone, and obviously there's other measures like, for example, life imprisonment if there really is no chance of rehabilitation. But yeah, as a first call, rehabilitation should always be the first port of call, right?
And an artist is a business person in many cases.
Right, yeah. Right.
They're almost
They gotta sell the
always.
service.
I strongly agree.
Right.
I guess that I agree in the sense, but I believe that if you, this is one thing that this is the problem with postmodernism, and this is how you know that this is created by a postmodernist, because they don't understand that for art to have any merit, it has to provide value to someone.
Right.
Yeah, no, I
Right?
agree.
That's what always bothers me about people saying like, I just want to do this for me. Really, Pollock? Well, guess what? You lucked out because
Yeah.
for some reason people are paying for these things.
Yeah, exactly.
But the point is, if you only
Yeah, funnily enough, because they see value in the art. So you're just proving your point that his art provides value to people that aren't you. What? This is ridiculous. What kind of point is he trying to make here?
art for yourself, it's of no value.
Right.
Art is meant to benefit the world and society.
And I
So I
think-
disagree. I think that you can do art for yourself.
you can, but
Yeah.
not
Not in
if
this
that is your
question, right.
vocation.
But if someone is their vocation,
Hang on, what artist is literally just doing art for themselves? That's absurd. Of course, there's an element of like, wanting to do art because maybe you enjoy it or something like that. But like, I mean, I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, but I'm not familiar with any artists that are doing something solely for themselves and aren't thinking about the broader, how it might impact the world. Right? What? Oh my god, this is ridiculous. So does he think that like Van Gogh was like a completely selfless person and was creating art just for the consideration of what impact it's going to have on the world? Obviously not. Obviously there was a selfish aspect to it. There always is. I consider myself an artist now, okay? But anyway, I'm memeing, of course. But in any case, I stream and do this because I like doing it, right? Like, I mean, of course. But the benefit is that there's a group of people that seem to enjoy what I do and enjoy my content, Are you an artist or an artisan? I think he means art as a hobby. I don't know what he's talking about. Serious question, is streaming art? I mean, depends what your definition of art is, I guess. I don't know, I'm kind of fairly unpretentious, so I don't really care, but I don't know, maybe there's a debate that could be had. I think this is art, let's be real, okay? Did you see the drawing I did of my rant Sona?
An artist, and they're like, hey, I want to do it. And a lot of folks who do the art are not, they're not focused on, or maybe they're, the only time they really focus on the money is if they're like trying to get their, supplies or like to live or whatever it may be.
Or like Green Day selling out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, terrible, right? And so I actually strongly disagree, because I agreed with you. The first thing you said, which is the business person is the artist. The artist is the business person. Well, but that's just, again, notice how terribly written these questions are. We're agreeing and coming up with different answers.
Well, but here's the thing too. So
you should go with your answer.
They're putting the business person and manufacturer as different than the writer and artist, and so I go, okay, well, they're obviously saying there's a difference between these two. They don't overlap, even though sometimes they do. But the categories that don't, I would rather have more business people and manufacturers than writers and artists.
Yeah. The question, and most artists are assholes. But then you gave that answer, and you like Transformers 4, so
14.
Disagree.
14.
No, I agree. I can't just spite disagree because Gerald has horrible taste in films. Hey, not a word, Constantine.
That's justice.
Lord
I appreciate
of War?
that. Yeah.
Lord of War?
Warlord.
No, wait, no.
It's Lord of War.
Lord of War is a Nicolas Cage one.
Yeah. And every question has to be this elaborate comedic sort of thing, and it's just like, just answer the question. They're all fairly straightforward.
We can read the rest of it as Nicolas Cage. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
I was not looking at you when you did that, and oh my gosh. Wow. Like, I encourage you, if you're watching this at home, to just
strongly disagreeing. We'll bring back your f***ing honey. Mass Monday.
Repentance is near.
This is why
the man did a shouty. The man did a little shouty.
That's the perfect person to be doing Mass Monday.
Like Jesus? Don't compare me.
Oh, wow.
He's unflawed and perfect. Trick question. I want to see who would correct me.
He's not a guru.
None of you have read the Bible.
He's not a guru.
I don't know what reference. This is just getting out of hand now.
Wow.
Hey, I'm going to get
we're nearly there,
the
people.
Methodist,
Yes, you will.
But if it takes you more than 10 minutes to find the Bible in your house, you can't comment negatively.
Is that a Jeff Foxworthy thing?
Where is
Go.
I think that's a different guy who does that.
Oh, okay.
Nary a Gideon to be found at Bill's
Damn
household.
Gideons.
Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Agree. And I don't mean that their first.
If they're mothers.
If they are mothers, your first. Now, but here's the thing: mothers may have careers. Homemaker can be a dedicated career. Right. Someone can make a wonderful home and work a job as well. Yeah. But it absolutely should be a mother's priority, considering that you chose to give birth to make.
Do I support rehabilitative justice for Crowder? Yeah, of course I do. I support it for everyone, more or less. I think there might be some people on rare occasions where perhaps they are too much of a threat to society to allow them to rejoin, and maybe rehabilitation isn't possible. That's what life sentences are for, in my opinion, But my concept of criminal justice is completely different to how it operates at the moment. So, yeah, there's a lot that goes into my take on it.
Sure that those children are taken care of, and that means making a house a home.
Because we got some deadbeat dads.
Just like a man, his priority needs to be to provide.
Yep.
Right.
Gerald, are you proud of the deadbeat dads?
No, that was actually not being proud.
Yeah, no.
I didn't like that.
No, he hasn't learned how to use sarcasm yet.
What did I do it wrong?
You gave 2 thumbs up.
Obviously, the problem with all of this is that very little value is put on the work that like a mother does in the home, or I mean that's what they're talking about from a sort of sexual gender perspective, is the mum staying at home, right? But yeah, very little is put on their work, the value of their work. So yeah, this conversation is a bit.
That was bad.
Sorry,
By the way, Siskel and Ebert are both dead. I know you just figured it out and you think it's a cool slogan. You're going to bring it back.
1.5 thumbs up.
It's just sad.
You can't even see
it just reminds us of death.
Still can't say that.
Rude.
Multinational companies are unethically. We really should have had a beer before doing this.
Yeah.
Or while
we
doing this.
Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries.
I don't think this is exploiting the plant genetic
Multinational
resources.
companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. We gave them GMOs and then you bitched about it. What are we talking about?
I don't understand plant
They're
genetic
talking
resources.
about how some like Monsanto will go to another country, they'll take the genetics for a certain plant, they'll come back, then they'll get a patent on it, and then they'll go back there and they'll say, hey, you can't grow this plant anymore because we have the genome.
No, right. Well, Borlaug saved billions of lives, so are unethically exploiting the plant. I don't know enough about. I don't know the inside baseball of Chiquita.
I think they. can be doing
Just
this.
say yes and move on. Come on. Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe
exactly.
I agree or disagree. I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up.
All right, I'm just going to go,
But
agree. Shit, it's an iPad. It's touch sensitive. Well, you're doing it. I just ruined the whole thing. I hit back.
no.
But it was agree.
there we go. All
No,
right.
it was disagree. It was disagree. Sorry.
Disagree. Okay, there we
Making
go.
peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. Strongly disagree because I don't like the establishment.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah. Wait, shoot. Yeah, I said strongly disagree. Yeah.
Oops. You strongly
It doesn't
agree.
matter. Maddie's the one checking it out for me.
Yeah, Manny, good job.
Okay,
Because you
good job,
can't control.
She got it.
Astrology accurately
It's
explains.
just so funny. It's got all these answers that talk about invoking like the power of the state to like force women that have been victim of sexual assault by a family member and therefore pregnant to have their baby. Like he thinks that should be a thing that happens, but he has all these anti-establishment takes, right? Like who does he think are going to enforce these absurd beliefs that he's got? Oh my god, this is ridiculous.
It means many things.
Oh, you
What?
dumb
Can I
arses.
add? Sure, if you're an ass. Oh, Steve.
Yes, you can.
Oh no! They've all got docked $10. They didn't laugh at the joke. Oh my goodness! They've all been docked $10 for that.
This is a
It is
political
your show.
quiz.
This is a political
Again,
quiz.
political
So
compass.
confused.
I love it. I love it.
A political quiz. Are you good? Earlier, are you good at keeping secrets? And 12-year-old boy, what's your sign? I'm a Libra.
Oh boy.
All kids should have secrets.
I don't like those words.
Do you notice as well? That was quite interesting. I don't know if you picked up on that, but he's making a joke about someone being a pedo or whatever, yeah. But he puts on like this sort of what he perceives to be like a gay voice. Did you notice that? Did you pick up on that? Very subtle, very, very, very subtle. But he did it very subtly, insinuating, and it's so subtle. It's a dog whistle, obviously. It's so subtle you might miss it and I just noticed it then. But yeah, absolute. Of course, the pedo's got the gay voice, right? Of course.
See, astrology accurately explains many things. Strongly disagree. You cannot be moral without being religious. I don't
It's
know.
almost a trick question.
I don't agree with that, but I think, for example, everyone can have a set of morals by which they abide, whether they are religious or not. But I do think that having morals that, of course, are shared in a society is necessary, and that requires a religious basis.
Yeah, I feel like
I disagree.
morals-
I think that
yeah.
I've known moral people who are atheist, of course. Unfortunately, not all atheists share the same morality, but then again, not all Christians.
Well, but my question would be, okay, well, what is morality?
Yeah,
Like,
where does it come from?
Yeah.
What is the standard you're comparing to?
We
Whether
need to
it's
get
God
to
or
page
anybody else?
6.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
our
yeah. No,
in
that's
this.
a good point as well. It's funny, isn't it? Yes, to answer that question, he can't help but go to that, which maybe. I mean, don't forget he did the great Greta Thunberg tweet. We all remember that one, right? Where we referred to a costume like a slutty Greta Thunberg costume. We all remember that, don't we?
I'm just telling
Yeah.
you.
Save it
Just
for Mass
saying.
Monday.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
fine.
If the church will still have us. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
Yes.
agree.
Agree.
Yeah.
Some people are naturally unlucky.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. This isn't a political
Kind of,
question.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I wish it was like sort
You're a
of.
libertarian. What does that mean?
I knew a foreign exchange student in my high school who quite literally slipped on a banana peel that fell
That
out
still
of the
happens?
trash. And I watched it go into the trash only 40 minutes earlier.
Only 40
wow.
minutes.
Was it funny?
We're nearly
fake.
through
It's
this now.
hysterical.
I'm going to try. We'll try and
Who
push
slips on a
through.
banana anymore? We've
The
gotten past
ICU
that.
visit was even funnier.
We'll only stop for the most yikes takes, okay?
Like coma. huh.
Social maladie, that's our social health
Yeah,
care.
charity bad. Yeah, we all know that on the whole. Anyway,
It is
continue.
important.
We are losing it.
Oh no.
It is important that my child's school
I mean,
instills religious values.
wait. Sorry, just to clarify on that. Mutual aid is a thing, right? But like the idea of like a corporate charity is different. Because the problem with corporate charity is you then got a structure of people within the system that have to take their cut from the charity that they get, right? So like at Oxfam, you've got people at the top. And there is an argument that can be made where like maybe if the sort of senior management team and whatnot engage in like quite what's the word? So they're kind of if they've got a company car, they've got quite like a low cost car, and they're quite humble. They're humble. They have a humble lifestyle within their job. But I remember, and this is going back years, I remember a story about Oxfam, and it was talking about all these executives that work for Oxfam that had these like posh company cars on massive salaries, So yeah. So yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make is like corporate charity. If you are going to have a charity and it's corporate and it's a large organisation, then you should do everything you can to reduce the costs for employees. Like the senior management, I mean, you know, we all know that people that just work for a charity get the excess value of their labour stolen anyway. But it's obviously a bit more complicated if it's a charity, right? But yeah. Obviously, mutual aid is a far better concept, you know. So not donating is the same as boycotting; it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Values. I disagree.
I agree.
I disagree. Because the problem is, unfortunately, who do you want? I don't think that my school should be instilling religious values because all it takes is one bad teacher.
Well, I mean,
so the unstated word is public.
Right.
So if you think,
Oh, yeah. So look, this is a good example of what we're talking about. So, yeah, Oxfam, High Tea. Yeah. This is it. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I mean, it's one thing to have like an expensive company car working for a charity, which is bad in itself, but this is like a whole other level. So yeah, Oxfam. Allegations that Starline prostitutes are working overseas. Like, that's an omega yikes from me. Not only are you, wasting company funds, you're engaging in completely, exploitative behaviour, potentially. Yeah?
if you think that you want to send your kid to a religious school or homeschool your kids religiously, that's great. But again, the assumption here is that schools are essentially public.
Right, exactly. And to be clear, with a public school, I don't want them instilling religion at all, and I don't think that the Pledge of Allegiance is instilling religion.
I don't mind.
I don't think one nation under God is instilling a particular set of religious values. And I don't think the teaching, I don't think in Quebec we had moral religious education, then it was changed to moral education, and it still included religion in the curriculum.
One nation under God isn't instilling religious values. What's he talking about? One bad Muslim. Does he mean Muslim? Yeah, probably.
Actually got kicked out because I questioned.
We're nearly there, people. 10 minutes.
I said, yeah, what about jihad? And they kicked me out of class.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, instilling religious values, I don't think it means it's just those values that are exclusive to Christianity.
Well, here's the problem, too. I also come from Quebec, where you basically have a state denomination with Catholicism.
Right.
And because I know many good Catholics here in the United States, I hate state-enforced any kind of religion. And unfortunately, we've seen the Catholic Church not get that right when they've been given any sort of authoritarian power.
I think it'd be cool to have like a comparative religion class. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean instilling religious values.
Well,
that's just an objective study of values. It's not instilling them as
But
values.
he thinks it would be fun.
Again, I've changed the question.
Option E. Well, if you can't make up your mind, do you think it would be nice?
Would it be fun? I don't know.
Would you pleasure yourself?
What?
Please.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Jeez, Bill.
You're not a lawyer.
It's
Religion.
disgusting.
Jeez.
Ugh, Gerald.
Way to turn that around. I like that.
I just want to be quiet because I want you to die on the vine.
No. I'll only get stronger. I'll fill the silence.
Okay.
It'll become worse.
All right, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, page
Who
6.
knew?
Actually, no, strongly agree.
There you go.
Strongly
Be strong.
agree, you live-in hussies and cads.
Cool cat.
You queens of New England.
This is look, I'm not denying this is very difficult to watch. It's funny how he applies his own morality to everyone else, though, right? The guy who's against what was it? This guy's such a weird contradiction. What authority does he have to say that anyway? Do you know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with him. What other people do with their sex lives. This is just some cringe.
That was the Cider House Rules filthy whores.
Oh.
Admonishing edition.
That
was it you princes of something? You queens of something?
Princes of
New England?
Yeah.
It's a horrible film, by the way. It was nominated, the Cider House Rules, and I saw the nomination. I was a kid, and I thought, well, when I was a kid, I was like, it seems like October Sky, and Jake Gyllenhaal at that point and Tobey Maguire seemed very similar, but different career arcs.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, I'll go, and it looks like nice scinery. It was entirely a film about abortion. The Cider House Rules.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And
I'm
Michael
sorry,
Caine
I know
dies
we're
because
slowing
of the
down on some of the
chloroform,
commentary, but
spoiler alert,
we've got to get
in
through
case
this.
you hadn't gotten around to it, and it's on your bucket list, watching Cider House Rules.
Yikes.
A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. Here's the thing. I agree that they should not be excluded. But I also agree that they should be way down the list, along with single-parent households and households that have cohabitators who are not married. In other words, the first people who get a kid, the people who get Amazon Prime on a...
I think Ben Shapiro even had a better take than this. Yikes. Ooh.
Child should be married mom and dad. I don't give a rat's ass about physical attributes, race, country of origin, a mommy and a daddy, and then down the list we can toss in everyone else, including same-sex couples.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, but like, there's no guarantee that just because you've got a mum and dad couple that they're going to be any of a better parent. There's no guarantee of that whatsoever. You know, I mean, a same-sex couple is just as likely to engage in potentially bad behaviour with a kid as a same-sex couple, right? I'd love to see the evidence that shows the contrary. I'd love to know the evidence that shows the contrary to this. This is literally this is his full ideologiness. Was that a word? He's literally just pushing his agenda here. It's so funny. It's so funny to me. These people complain about the trans agenda and the gay agenda. And here he is pushing his own agenda. Because I would love to see what studies there are to back up his assertion here. There are none. I'm telling you, it doesn't exist, okay? It doesn't exist to prove this. It's just his own opinions and views that he's using to push his own agenda, right?
Okay, so
Reasonable.
they shouldn't be excluded from the possibility of adoption. I agree.
Yeah.
Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population. Agreed.
I agreed.
Don't think
For
porno is
speech.
good for you,
Nope,
but
I agree
I don't
with
think
that,
that I have the right to tell you that you can't do what Bill was talking about before the show. He was ashamed of it. If that makes you feel any better.
Making pornography.
Making.
Yeah,
Starring in
dirty.
your own videos, Bill?
Steven,
Wow.
I thought you
We
were,
were
a
all
fan
we were all
of
telling-
the First Amendment. And here you
nearly there.
are.
After hearing that story, I'm a fan of the second.
Yes.
Especially if I'm looking at your sock drawer.
I never used this.
We had to tell, to be clear, we all had to tell embarrassing
To be
stories
clear.
before the show to warm up, and Bill just overshot it dramatically.
Yeah, we
Now,
just-
we
We're
do
all
this.
like, I had a booger once, and a girl I had a crush on in grade school, and Bill's like, okay.
Bill went first.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
know.
worse. Yeah.
I know.
Hey,
But I was
unfair.
telling a story,
The
and
only
I was
guy-
trying to make it more interesting. Thanks for blowing the lid off of it, Audio Wade. I'll remember the next time when you read a punchline that inevitably includes hot, hairy ass.
That was once.
It was more than once. I only allowed
It
one to
was-
make air.
it was
It's very
twice.
hard.
It
I
was
wanted to
twice.
let them all make air.
It was twice.
The story changes.
Hi, Audio Wade Dad.
Father of.
Okay, let me make sure. What goes on? Okay. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. Strongly agree.
Yeah.
That's different
different. I
from the marriage institution.
Right.
Anyway, no one can feel naturally homosexual. What?
Why is this in here?
That's weird.
A quick glance at Project Runway makes it clear that's not true.
Right. Disagree.
No one
Again,
can feel naturally homosexual.
Politics?
Yeah.
Strongly
Yeah.
disagree.
Well, this is sex now. It
You
did
would
this
say that,
section was
homophobe.
sex.
Why is this a political?
What does that have to do?
I don't know.
These days, openness about sex has gone too far.
Wait, he's not. Wait, no, what's that? He did he answer the homosexual one, or what? What's going on? I'm confused.
I don't care about that.
In depiction of sex in popular culture, I have no problem with people being open about sex and talking about sex because I think that's what allows me, for example, to provide a retort and say, no, I think that sex within the confines of what we believe as Christians,
Right.
marriage is a beautiful thing.
think
And a lot of wonderful Christian art, of course, depicts the human form, nudity.
Yeah, no,
There's
right.
nothing wrong with that. But as far as a hypersexualized culture,
That's what I lean
Right.
towards.
Yeah.
I that's kind of what I thought the question was asking, so that's why I said that.
so I guess I agree. I mean, I
It's
don't,
funny how he complains about a hypersexualized culture when he just spends all of his time guzzling dog cum out of that mug, right? Am I right or am I right?
I'm so torn. Agree.
It's the last question. Can you just click it?
Okay, great.
Just
Now let's
please.
see where you stand. All right,
right, here
Too
we
Cute
go.
Maddie, let's
Here we
bring
go.
this up. What am I?
Oh, you got to scroll.
Scroll
Good
down,
Lord.
Scroll down.
Explaining
It's
it.
just explaining it.
Keep going.
Scroll
Oh my
down.
God.
Keep going.
Those
Why
are
they
other
make it-
people.
Keep
Those are
going.
other people.
Right there.
There you go.
Okay.
There you
Oh,
go.
I told
Scroll
you.
up just a little.
I told you. This
There's
was
like a number.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bring it back up.
Go
Don't
back.
punch
What the
it.
hell?
Wait,
Scroll up a
scroll
little bit.
scroll
There you go.
Great.
3.38.
For crying out loud. Economic left, right, 3.38. Social libertarian authority, 0. So, like I said, I'm pretty conservative with a libertarian leaning.
Yeah. I was pretty close to you.
Nothing on the authoritarian side, which surprises me, considering the fact that I want to round up all of. Never mind.
You can't
I was
say
gonna talk
that.
about a, no, I was going to talk about a children's show. I was going to talk about a children's show, but then I realized it would be a copyright infringement, not a race.
what are you doing?
Unless Muppets are a
Settle
race.
down, Gerald.
Unless Muppets are a race.
They are.
That's true.
It was
They're
the
not.
Teletubbies.
Yeah. Ooh.
Sorry for your ears.
But I didn't
there,
want to get
fellas.
sued because they're known for being litigious.
Yeah. The test is biased towards the libertarian left, I believe. But yeah, in any case, I mean, I kind of roughly expected him to be.
But if I had my way, never mind. All right. This is the problem with all of these shows not behind the paywalls. Like things that we say. By the way, people,
Right,
you know
yeah.
that if it's a Mug Club, join Mug Club. Use the promo code quarantine, $30 off.
There you go.
I wouldn't stop myself. I'm not. It's just that I don't
Also,
want.
look at him there, desperately trying to get his viewers to engage in his disgusting bestiality. Did you notice that? Little wink in the eye. Join Mug Club, and you know what you get as extra. That's what he's saying.
YouTube to remove everything.
That's true.
Because of a Teletubby / Holocaust joke in poor taste, mind you, absolutely.
Right.
But that hasn't stopped me.
When do I get a poor
Please.
taste button?
Right. It just.
All right. So
covers over.
what's your result? What is your? Who was you were taking it? You were taking
I
it.
took it.
You
Yeah.
got it as
Okay.
well. Okay.
See, Gerald?
All right. I went. I was 4 on the right.
Okay.
Right. And I was actually straight, just 0 social libertarian authoritarian, right down the middle.
Okay. So you're just
No
toward the
variance.
right and then right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm 4 over, so you were 3.38, so I'm just a little further right. Than
Okay.
you.
I don't understand how. Is that because you're more socially like?
Maybe a little bit
Uptight?
more conservative.
I feel like we've got to
Okay.
watch the end.
What were you
okay?
having, Bill?
So I was
we might
also
as
in
well
that
watch into the
bottom
end.
right quadrant. I'm a 1.5 on the right, so more conservative on the economic scale, and then also negative 1.9 on libertarian.
Oh, wow,
so
yeah.
right about the same level.
You're more libertarian.
So we were both pretty similar.
Yeah, we were very similar.
Wow.
He's more
You were-
libertarian than you, and he's more towards the center than you.
Yeah, you were a little more conservative and just slightly less libertarian.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say this: as much as I hate the questions, I think I'm probably a little further to the right than that graph would show.
Yeah.
But that does make sense. To the right, libertarian. That does sound about.
I
like
thought
me.
I would have seen a little libertarian in mine, but I guess not.
I didn't think we were going to see libertarian.
No?
You're not fun enough.
Oh.
Nope.
Come on.
It's not like they're
I tell you what. How about
excluding
this?
people
I will,
for being
I will
like
allow
me.
it next time I give you a pill and you don't ask questions.
no.
That's what's required, by the way, for
be
the
a libertarian?
internship at Reason. It's just here's
No
a pill.
reason.
If you're one of us, you'll take the pill.
Oh my God! Come on,
Not
please,
red pill, blue
just
pill,
end
just
this.
any pill.
Any pill.
Right.
End me.
Okay, listen.
In my
I think
book.
this was a horrible waste of time. I don't like it. I don't like myself for having taken it, but
Thanks.
hopefully it has served you well because you asked for it, and I gave it to you. So you know what? Remember that when it comes time to renew.
The pill is dog cum.
And I think most of these
bitter.
exercises, like if you need someone else to tell you what you are,
Yeah.
you've lived a moron's life. So that being said, I understand why people think this is useful. I don't know why hosts out there think this is interesting.
Yeah, not really.
But it seems like it was mostly accurate. I would be curious if someone knows who created this test. I'm willing to bet that it was not a conservative American.
No.
Because it doesn't apply. All of these rules, these questions, they can apply across nearly all of Europe and not at all in the United States. Just like the First Amendment applies in the United States and nowhere else. It's not the same question. The context of the
We're
question
1 minute away,
matters.
people.
It
Then we can
changes
say we've done the
based
whole
on the
thing.
country you're in. And what I will say is if they had a test to see how American you are, even though I'm half Canadian, I would be no parts Canadian.
No parts. Well, it'd be really fun to just see what other countries rank. Like Germany's got to be like plus 10 on authoritarian. You know, I always have to watch out for those guys.
Except I bet you they'd show up as
on.
negative 10 because they always
Game
try to go
the
too far
test,
the other
More
way.
jokes.
No!
He's just
we
packing
like
it
the
out.
Jews now!
Totally friends.
Thank you so much. We're not going to get to an Ash Wednesday. We took a political compass test so much. We will see you tomorrow live stream at 8. 8? Yeah, Good Morning Mug Club as well.
It's over. We did it. I can't believe we did the whole thing. I'm honestly impressed. Okay? We did it. We actually did it. I don't believe it. Can you believe we did it? You need some wormies. I'm going to do one better than wormies. We're going to chill for a little bit. I'm going to stream for a tiny bit longer and then we'll raid out, okay? Okay, time to get some munchies. Let's just change the stream title. There we go. I've been waiting for this moment. I've got this. Oh God, I'm so excited about this. Anyway, let's leave it there in terms of the Stephen Crowder video, just to end the YouTube clip, I guess. That was kind of painful. I know I got a bit quieter towards the end, but I really just wanted to get through it. It was kind of, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. I've said all my thoughts on it. StephenCrowderDrinks.com, and that's it.